intro and I talk a little bit about myself within the Pecha Kucha, and this is my first Pecha Kucha. Because I work a lot with the chakras in my work, when Mandi asked me if I would be involved, I was excited because this is something I'm really passionate about. And I said I'd be happy to cover any of the chakras. She asked me which one I was interested in, and I said I'm happy to do any of them. And then she said, I'd love for you to do the heart. And I went, oh. Internally, there was a reaction, and I realized that I had some work in the heart to do. And so then the title, because you've listed it as Freedom to Unfold Your Heart, and that unfolded into looking at grit and grief and gratitude. So that's what I will talk about. And one other thing I wanted to say is that I played an orc in The Hobbit. And I have played Medea a number of times. So even though I played a goddess when I met Mandi, I seem to get typecast as demons and villains for some strange reason. So that's where my channel for aggression seems to come out. Okay. So I have prepared it, and I'm going to be reading. I'll try to engage with you as much as possible, but I have very specific things I want to say to each slide, so I might not look at you as much. Ready to go? Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Great. So how to take the grief of getting grit in our tender bits and turn it into gratitude in 7 minutes or less. And I'm kidding about that because obviously the heart is a huge topic, and we can rest assured that these balancings of energy are a journey of lifelong learning, an ongoing dance, not something we ever reach, but rather something we befriend. As I say in my teaching, trust the longer journey. So hi, I'm Melissa, and I'm the creatrix of MYOGA, Freedom to Unfold. I was introduced to yoga at the age of 6 and have been teaching since 2001. And recently I've put all of my teachings online, and my intermediate level teachings organize the chakras, the inherent powers within you, with the seasons, the changing power of the natural world around you. So let me ground this uber short talk on Anahata chakra, the energy center at the heart, in the truth that we are multi-dimensional beings. Nothing happens in isolation. So even though we might prefer to break the universe into small bite-sized chunks our little brains can chew on, like chakras, that doesn't change the interwoven and holistic nature of existence. So that said, caveat aside, Anahata translates from Sanskrit to mean unstruck, which is a bit of a Zen koan, I find. Anyone who has a heart will tell you that one surefire way of knowing it's there is to feel it broken apart, as if struck, or to have it smashed, abandoned, or cut, like the artichoke heart about to be cut. So has anyone here not had their heart broken? Anyone not felt debilitating grief that caused you to question the point of existence at all? So maybe your heart was broken by a loved one dying naturally, like my grandfather did at 101. Or maybe a horrible disease took someone, like cancers took my father and my grandmother. Or maybe you know someone who was killed tragically, like my young cousin, who was shot through the heart by a cowboy cop in Idaho. Or my other cousin who was mysteriously found dead with a belt around her neck. Or maybe who you thought was your true love left you for someone else. Or maybe you've not yet felt matched in love at all. Maybe strip mining makes you yourself feel stripped, or maybe it breaks your heart to see forests clear-cut or animals killed. Maybe like me, your heart bleeds when you see the waters of the world unloved, when you realize we can no longer swim in the waters, much less drink straight from the stream. So wouldn't a direct line to security be really nice? The kind of security that assured you you'd make it through life without having your heart broken? But since none of us will get through life unscathed, we can assume the heart is meant to be broken. So now what's the advantage of having your heart broken? What might you learn? How might you grow? All of the chakras have an endocrine system companion. For the heart, it's the thymus, which is like a training school for your immune system cells. When there's an invader in the body or you're wounded, these cells are deployed to surround the invader and soothe the serration, the roughness, just like this mollusk does. When a parasite burrows into the soft body or it's scratched, the mollusk's immunological reaction is to coat the wound or the invader with layer upon layer upon layer of nacre, which is a crystalline structure that is iridescent. So nacre is what gives Tawa and nautilus shells their rainbow-colored shine and what makes up a natural pearl. We might struggle or numb ourselves, but ultimately we can't escape the pain that is within us. So instead of fighting what is, we can recognize the inevitable pains of being alive, and then with our own resources, transform the pains from sharp sensations into soft, shiny things of reflective and radiant beauty. We can consciously make pearls out of our pains, but just how do we do this? When all we want to do is turn away from the rift in the fabric of our lives, how do we instead turn towards our brokenness and transmute it into a thing of beauty, and even into gratitude? How do we get from the pain of heartbreak into the power required to be truly grateful? By cultivating the grit needed to wrap ourselves lovingly around the wound, we stay steady with what we cannot change. Yes, there's a hole, a sense of wrongness in our lives, yet we cannot rid ourselves of it. Instead of struggle, we give ourselves support and breathing, which means we give ourselves permission to feel the pain, the wounding, the loss. Instead of abandoning ourselves by avoiding the pain, we give it enough voice to be able to let it flow, let it go, which may mean we cry like a river. Or it may mean we speak truth about what breaks our heart, about the source of our grief. So hold up your left fist like this. And then this is how I imagine the heart. Mostly we feel it like this, with only the external surface area exposed. But then if you feel that with your right hand, feel how much is exposed to the air, right? Now spread your left fingers wide. So inside is all of this convoluted surface area. When the heart is pierced or smashed or broken open, the exposed surface area of your heart increases. So we feel more because there's more surface area to feel more when it's broken open. We now have a heart that's tenderized by what is. Opening like this takes courage, a word that comes from the French word for the heart, cour. It takes courage or grit to stand steady in what you feel and not shut down and not turn away and not collapse in on yourself. Look at blossoms. They open their delicate petals outwards from a safe, tight bud. They give it all away, and we love them for it. So how can we love ourselves in this vulnerable practice of staying steady through sensation and fear and grief, while blossoming into greater self-expression by breathing? It's the bravery of the breath that saves us again and again. The lungs are like petals or wings, like shuttered windows on either side of the heart that we have yet to open wide, to let life in and to let darkness out. So right now, notice your breath. How is it? Where is it? Be bold and take a wider, deeper, higher breath. In yoga, we create architecture in the body by aligning bones and muscles in a posture. But if you don't breathe into it, it's like building a house that you don't inhabit. So don't abandon yourself, inhabit yourself. Breathe your beauty into being. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your courses that you are offering. The chakra courses. These are fascinating.
Great, sure. So that second slide with the figure, with the colors, the pie-shaped colors, gives you a visual of what I teach. Don't worry, breathe. So I structured my teaching literally about a day before my father died. I had set my teaching for the entire year. I found that I was teaching different things at different times of the year. So in winter, it made sense to fold inwards and to work with forward folds. In the heat of summer, it made sense to work with that heat. And then things like spring, when you're emerging, so aligning the elements, it's very complex, so it's hard for me to simplify. It's really better experienced. But all of my teaching is now online, and the seasonal practices move through the seasons. So what I found in myself for about 6 or 7 years now that I've been doing this particular seasonal structure, and other students who have done it with me, is that it's long enough, about 6 weeks in one practice, to really dive into that practice and feel it and experience it and explore those particular aspects of self and the world around you, but not so long that you can get bored with it. And there are other styles of yoga where you do the same thing over and over. And that is much more challenging, I think, to keep the mind engaged, because it feels like you're doing the same thing over and over. So, but what I've also found is that as people move through the year, and I see time as spiralic, so it's like a hawk in a thermal. You come over the same territory, but maybe higher up. So we might come through the same issues in our lives, same patterns, and been there before. And that's actually, to me, a good sign. It's like, oh, this is familiar, and yet because I have all of this other part of the spiral behind me, it's never really the same. And just by virtue of recognizing that you're there again is already an advancement. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
What was the name of your online, I'm running your name and your online business down, and my foggy brain doesn't remember anything apart from
I have a few cards. I'm happy to give you one, but it's my...